Good morning, Brother Chad Long here, Delhi Baptist Church. Running a little late this morning. I stayed up last night doing some after school stuff. I think I'm all finished, well, except for some paperwork, but I think I'm through with classes. Anyhow, I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about getting back into our Ruth study. Yesterday we didn't get very far, and I'm sorry for that, but then again, I'm not. This is an important story to Christian history, and you don't ever want to just go through something so fast that you miss the good stuff. My wife, I'll tell this real quick. My wife used to tease me when we got married. I ate so fast. I mean, we'd get a burger somewhere, fries somewhere, and I'd wolf it on down, and I didn't think anything of it. I think it was because I raised up, working all the time, and you didn't get a whole lot of time to eat, man. It's time to get the food put away and get back to work. And I noticed that she takes 5 times longer than any other human being on the planet to eat her food. And, I'm at one extreme, she's at the other, and she used to give me a hard time about it because she said, you don't even get to taste your food. Slow down and enjoy it, savor the flavors and figure out how you like your hamburger. Do you like mustard on it? Do you like mayonnaise on it? You eat yours so fast you don't know what you do and don't like on it. So anyway, you can apply the same reasoning to studying the Word of God. I mean, it's food, okay? This book right here, y'all, this is spiritual food, and you really need to savor it. You really need to study it carefully. Don't just jump in and get your, and let me say this. I know we got to get into our study, but let me say this. Some people, they get into these Bible reading devotional programs, and they're good if you don't get in a rush to get them done. Sometimes, especially if you're reading in a section of the Bible you don't particularly enjoy, like Mosaic Law and Leviticus and Numbers, or something like that, or bogged down in one of the prophets where you don't know what he's talking about, it's real easy to just want to get your reading for the day done and go on about your day. And I caution you, please don't do that. Hey, this is the Word of God. And I don't care how mundane an area it seems to be. It's meat for your soul. Let's savor it. Let's go through it slowly and carefully and understand it and apply it. And I'm telling you, your study time will get richer if you just slow down. And I know I have no room to talk. I move so fast on so many things, but I do try to read the Word of God carefully. So, without any more ado, thank you for your patience, by the way. We're in Ruth chapter 3, real quickly, verses 1 through 3, which we've already read. Naomi's wanting to do something for Ruth. Ruth has been wonderful to her, and not only does she want to see her have a future, she has an idea how it may happen. She's older, she's wiser, and she knows the law. So she says, shouldn't I do something good for you? Shouldn't I try to set you up for, not meaning financially, just meaning for a family, for future potential happiness. And she says, Boaz is our kindred, and you're getting to know him pretty good. And he's winnowing barley tonight in the threshing floor. So she says, wash yourself, anoint yourself, put raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. Make not thyself known unto the man until he hath done eating and drinking. Some things to know about the threshing floor. When it comes time to thresh, harvest is done. They don't do the winnowing all through the harvest. They get all the one section of it done and carried to the threshing floor, and then they start on the winnowing of the wheat or the barley. And while they're up there, my understanding is the men would stay there and sleep near the grain, Well, I guess to keep animals out of it and to keep marauders and people from stealing. And as it is, they're letting strangers and they're letting widows and orphans and people have some of it out of the field. But they don't want to give away what's in the threshing floor. So the men, the workers, the reapers, and the owner would typically, if I read this right, they would stay the night there with the grain until it was all done, until all the work was done. And they would have a pretty good party. Especially if the harvest was good. If you've got lots of crop, then you got plenty to be happy about. You know, you wait on that all year to grow and to be harvested, and you're going to have some loss. I mean, nobody gets 100% yield. But now it's time to rejoice, to glorify God, and to have a party. There's nothing wrong with a party as long as it's not a bunch of drunken ignorance. So what they're doing here is Boaz and his reapers are up at the threshing floor, and they're having. I don't think the families stay the night out there. I think it's just the men, but their families are permitted to come and be a part of the festivities. So it's not so unusual for a woman to come. She probably wasn't supposed to be out there sleeping. So what Naomi tells Ruth to do is get dressed up nice, and probably in this verse 3 where she talks about putting raiment upon her, there's probably an overcoat, something large that would help to mask who exactly she is. She's going to look different than she's looked since they've known her, because she's taken, well, not that she didn't bathe, but I mean, she's especially dressed nice, clean. She's taken her widow's clothing off of her, and so she goes up there, and there's those who may say, well, wouldn't somebody have noticed who this lady is? I don't know. They were focused on their own things, with the festivities and the winnowing, and I don't know how close she got. But she's going to show up. Now, anyway, she says, don't make yourself known to the man until he shall have done eating and drinking. So even if someone else recognizes her, she's cautioned to be careful not to let Boaz see who she is until after the meal. Now watch what happens. Verse 4. It shall be when he lays down, thou shalt mark the place where he shall lay. It says lie, but I'm putting it into an easier to understand version. Mark where he lays down, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. This is a really important passage to understand correctly, because too many people misinterpret this or try to make it sound like something it don't mean. So please keep an open mind, study this carefully with me. So this is what she's instructed to do. Verse 5, and she said unto her, all thou sayest unto me I will do. And Ruth was an obedient and a good person with good character, and we've seen that already. So verse 6, she went down to the floor. She did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drank, and his heart was merry, he went to lay down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. Now, a couple things. I don't know what I'm coughing about. Something went down the wrong passage, I guess. I'm not sick, y'all, I promise. Anyway, so she happens to notice where he's going to lay down. This is what Naomi had told her to do. Pay attention to where he's going to lay down. She probably spent her time at the party with the maidens and kind of out of sight of where Boaz and his men would be. And she probably hadn't been going every night to this thing, because once the work was done, I don't think she was after a party. If she hadn't been told to go, I don't know that she'd have went. So I don't think Boaz is looking for her. He's not expecting her to be there, and she's not letting him know that she's watching him. And she sees where he's going to lay down. It says here at the heap of corn. The way I understand that, and again, this is just from study, I don't know that I'm right, but the way I understand that, they would lay their head on the grain, and because it inclines, you got your little pile there you can lay your head on and not be laying completely on the ground, kind of like a pillow. And your feet go out toward the edge of the threshing floor out there in grass somewhere. And so She was not instructed to lay down next to him in any kind of a husbandly, wifely type of way. She's told to uncover his feet and lay at his feet. And I've even heard people say to put her feet to his feet and sleep away from him that way. Now, I can't prove that. She could have laid this way against his feet. But I don't think so. I think she uncovered his feet, put her feet against his feet, and then I think she pulled the covers over herself. This is what I think happened. Anyway, I could be wrong. I'll read verse 7 again. When Boaz had eaten and drank, his heart was merry. He went and lay down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly, uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight, the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, the woman lay at his feet. I think personally, what woke him up, first of all, he felt her there at his feet. He may have thought it was a critter getting in after him. He didn't know what was out there. You're outside. I mean, they're not in a house. It could be anything nibbling at your feet. One. And if she had cold feet and she's laying like I think she was, there ain't no telling what that felt like. You know, I don't know. I don't make a habit of sleeping like that, so I don't know what that had to have been like. But another thing that may have woke him up, and I'm not trying to be funny, but then again I am. I have been married for close to 17, 18, I don't even know, really. Long time. And I know enough about women in general to know sometimes they like to take the covers and pull them off of you. Now, if there's, apparently there's some kind of a covering because Naomi had told her to uncover his feet. So he's got some kind of a covering on him, and if she got cold, and women get cold in the middle of the night, she done reached up there and yanked them covers plumb off of Boaz. And I think that's partly what woke him up. Wait a minute. I had some covers here, and now I don't. I'm sorry for all the coughing. Anyhow, it's just comical, but I don't know. Look, I wasn't there, and y'all weren't either, so we don't know. But it could have happened that way. It could have. It may have. I don't know. But I know she's laying there at his feet, either perpendicular to him or completely just opposite of him, which is what I happen to think. I think, foot to foot. And she done yanked the covers off of him, possibly. So he wakes up, and there's a woman there. Look at verse 9. He says, "Who are you? Who art thou?" And she said, "I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman." Now, here's what that means. When he said, "Who in the world are you? What'd you take my covers for?" This spread thy skirt. Skirt can be another word for covering. That's what it is when a woman wears one. It's a covering. Skirt can mean covering here, and I think it does. I think she's asking for some covers. I think she's saying, "Look, it's me, and I want you to share some of your covers over me." Now, this is symbolic, okay? This is a picture of what she's actually asking him to do. She's showing the desire that he become her husband and her redeemer, her kinsman redeemer. Now, remember, the law had allowed for this. This was not an unusual custom. It's just unusual to us. They had done this for years. It's usually among Jewish people. It doesn't usually involve a Moabite, but they had done this for years. In fact, I read a story, and I hate to venture off, but I will. I read a story one time. It was a hypothetical story. It wasn't real. But it was about some brothers who lived under these customs. And one of them took a liking to this girl. And he was starting to get pretty interested in her. And his brothers didn't like her. And he says, "I really like her. I'm thinking about marrying her." And they said, "No, you can't marry her. Because something happened to you, then we got to marry her. And none of us like her." Which is, funny, but it's true. If you lived under this custom and you understood that as a family member of, your brethren, you could be responsible for bearing seed unto them, or having to be married to their wife, or having to deal with their land and property. So you would have a vested interest in who somebody married. You know what I mean? And it may have been one of the reasons God did it. It's just it make people think twice before they enter into a relationship. It wasn't like you do today in Vegas. You go down in Vegas, you can marry some stranger off the street inside of an hour. Inside of an hour, somebody you just met. Turn around within 24 hours and they know the thing. I mean, they didn't do that back then. They had to put a little thought into who they was fixing to marry. Supposed to have. Now, I don't know how much thought that Elimelech's children put into marrying Moabites to start with, but I'm just saying that was the intent, possibly, of the custom. One of them. But there is a duty here. There's a duty here that somebody must fulfill. And I want you to watch what happens here. I don't have a lot of time to get as deep into this as I want to, so we'll have to stop. But let me just share this with you. Watch verse 10. Boaz says this, "Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followedst not young men, whether poor or rich." Now what does that mean? What did Boaz mean by saying you have been shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning? Why did he say, "Blessed be thou, my daughter"? He said, "Bless you, oh bless you. You've been more kind to me than I've been to you." That's what he said to her. Why? What is he saying here? Well, I'm glad y'all asked, because I'm going to look forward to telling you. I'm so sorry. Anyhow, I'll give you a taste of this, and we're going to hit it tomorrow, okay? Well, no, we won't. Tomorrow's Saturday. Y'all have to make it all the way through the weekend without seeing my smiling face, unless you come to church. And please come to church. Anyhow, the reason that he is saying, "Bless you, and you're so kind to me," because Boaz is an older man. For him to take a wife and have children now, we don't know how old he is, but he's older than Ruth. And she's beautiful, she's virtuous, she's industrious, she's a good, hard-working woman, and she could have come to Israel with a husband in her sights. In fact, that could have been her focus every day, just to get noticed. Like a lot of girls today, man, all they want to do is get dressed up and go to the mall. Or I've literally heard stories. I'm not making this up. I've literally heard stories about single women who will move near an army base like Fort Hood or somewhere else. And they will frequent the places where they think the soldiers frequent, even strip bars. I'm not talking about strippers. I'm talking about women who would frequent places like that, thinking they're going to land them a soldier for a husband who's got benefits and maybe has a family with money. Now, I'm sure that's not the only place that takes place. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff like that goes on. But there are some people, they set their sights on what they want, and they go after it and manipulate their way into it. Ruth didn't do this. I'm convinced she wasn't thinking about ever being married again. She was a widow. She was thinking about Ruth. She was thinking about Naomi. She was thinking about what they're going to eat and how they're going to make it, and trying to do the right thing by everybody around her. She was being selfless. She wasn't thinking about herself. In fact, if Naomi hadn't pointed it out, Ruth wouldn't even be here. She wasn't out husband hunting, and she wasn't trying to improve her station in life. She was just trying to take care of her family and love people and follow God. That's all she was doing. And this is her right. It's her legal opportunity to be redeemed and to raise up seed to her dead husband and to her mother-in-law, which would bring joy into both their lives. And she could have just said, "You know what, the law is there if I want to use it, but I just don't want to use it. I just want to marry somebody else and move on." But she didn't. So what she's done is she's gone to an older man. He's not old, but he's an older man who apparently was already interested in her, who already wanted to redeem her, but did not want to just force his way into the situation. Just like Jesus wants to redeem all of us, but he's not going to force himself on us. All he wants, and I'm going to say this as clear as I know how, all Jesus ever wanted was for us to love him and to do it by choice. All Jesus Christ ever wanted from us was for us to love him and to want to. That's all. I mean, really, it's all it amounts to. And all Boaz wanted here was for this woman who he had the right to redeem to want to be redeemed by him. And so she shows up and says, spread your skirt over. Symbolically, that means I want your covering upon me. Symbolically here, but after we're married forever, I want you to be my husband. I want your protection upon me. I want you to love me and I want to raise children with you. And that's what she's asking. And that's why he answers like he does. I'll read the latter part of the verse and I'm through. He said, thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followedest not young men, whether poor or rich. Now, we're going to finish this Monday, maybe. I don't know. We're going to look at it again. And I want you to see how this proceeds, how this continues to go. These things get longer all the time, but some of that's because I couldn't quit coughing. I beg your forgiveness for that. I ask you to keep me in your prayers as I pray for you. Love one another as I love all of you. And have a wonderful day. God bless you.